All right, looks like we are live now. All right, before we get going, I'll get the normal disclaimers we do every week. Get those out of the way. This is a weekly live broadcast. This is generally on Thursday evenings. This is where I am, and you can come in here and you can ask me questions. You can ask anybody in the chat questions. If I can't answer them, somebody usually can regarding, anyway, rabbits and quail, and sometimes quite a few other things, ducks or chickens or whatever, a lot of the times. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't have a topic planned out. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. The only things I ask is keep it polite, be family friendly, don't be rude with anybody or hateful with anybody. We can have good debates. We can have disagreements, and that's fine. There's no reason to be hateful or rude or anything like that. So that's it. Let's jump into it. We only got a couple of people here so far today, a little bit of a smaller crowd, so hopefully we can keep busy. We got Rockin' T Rabbitry says hi. Hello to you. Don says good evening. Good evening, Don. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. And we got David Lister here with from McAllister Quail Trail. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining us. And Jacob Wolf says hello to everybody. Hello to you too. Now we got to wait for people to come in, don't we? Justin Mitchell wants to know, what can I do with cherry tomatoes? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. I laugh because if you plant more than one cherry tomato plant, you're going to be overrun with, even just one sometimes will overrun you with cherry tomato plants. Eat them, of course. Other than that, though, if you got too many of them to eat, I really don't have a good suggestion for cherry tomatoes. They're not really good for canning. I guess you could freeze them, but I don't know how well they would freeze. We'll see if somebody else in here has got, heck, if you had enough of them, you could make tomato sauce out of them or something. That would work. It'd be probably like a little sweeter tomato sauce, but that's not bad. Andy Dundas from Southwest Michigan's here. Good to see you. Scrap 5000's here. Says, what's up, everybody? Or he says, what's up, all? Or what's up? Anyway, greetings from New York City. Smash the like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And who's that? Patrick E. from Montreal. Hello to you. Jacob Wolf says, I got 16 of my 4-H rabbits sold and to their new homes last Saturday. Money in the bank for feed for a whole year and money for a new hutch, materials for me to build. Well, that is awesome. You did that off of 16 rabbits? Is money enough for you to... they must have sold for quite a bit. Congratulations. Glad to hear it. Don says, I was making roasted cabbage last night and tossed a bowl full of cherry tomatoes in to roast with them. Great way to get rid of them. Yeah, well, that would be a good way. Cook whatever you can with cherry tomatoes. Let's see. Justin says, I gave away 5-gallon bagfuls this past week. 5-gallon bagfuls, not a 5-gallon bag, but 5 1-gallon bag fulls. Yeah, that's pretty good. Make friends with them. That's a good way to use them up, is give them to your neighbors and, family, friends, all those people. Let them, feel like they owe you something, I guess. Kind of like zucchini, right? Let's see. Rocketry Rabbit says, how's the rabbits? They're doing fine so far. It's only been a week since I got them in, but I think it was pretty close, right at a week, maybe a day short of a week. But so far they're doing great. Boris says, hello, Chris. Well, hello to you too. Thanks for joining. Tim says, thought I lost my phone, but I found it with all of my phone numbers. That's always frustrating. You thought you lost it, but now you've got it back. So it's like incredibly worried and then incredibly relieved, right? So glad you found it. Buck Reynolds says, hello to everybody. Hope you are all well. I'm doing well. Thank you. Hopefully you are too. Verna says, hey, Chris and everyone. Hope this week has been good to you. Saw your wife had a birthday. Yep, it was her birthday this week, the 13th. We don't really do big deals for birthdays. It wasn't like a milestone birthday either, but I got her a gift, but it came in Friday and we had Friday off last week. We were, did some things. We took Thursday, Friday and off work and just kind of hung out and did some things. So her birthday present came in the mail on Friday. So I just went ahead and gave it to her then, but yes, she did have a birthday this week. Warchild says, hi all, shout out from Atoria, New Zealand. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Ed got bait. Good to see you. Says, good evening, Chris. Hope all is well. It is. Hopefully you're doing well. Jennifer Meyer says, I gather my cherry tomatoes in Ziploc bags after I had my fill. By September, you have enough to make sauces. Yeah, that makes sense. Cindy says, dehydrate and ground makes a good powder to use on salads or in soup and stews. There's a good idea. David Lister says, I've ordered some large ice trays for our rabbits. Each is about 4 foot long, awaiting delivery. You ordered large ice trays for your rabbit? Is that for, like, they're large trays you're going to fill with water and freeze? Is that what you're talking? I'm not really sure what we're talking about exactly. But if you're going to freeze them with, like, ice in a large tray that has ice in it for the rabbits, I guess that kind of makes sense. Oh, oops. Is that 4 inches instead of 4 feet? Well, that's a significant difference, but still. Let's see. 340 Quail Farm says Mount Dora, Florida, checking in. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Justin Mitchell says they say a really bad winter this winter. Oh, are they saying a really bad winter this winter and thing to prepare the trees and brushes. Oh, anything to prepare the trees and the brushes. Oh my goodness, sorry. I got new glasses coming, so hopefully they'll be here in a couple of days and I'll be able to read a little bit better. So really bad winter this winter. I don't know if I've heard that or not. I don't really do anything special to prepare our trees or I just kind of say, well, they're going to make it or they're not going to make it, and so far they've done just fine. So I don't know that I'm going to be the best one to honestly answer that one for you. The only time I ever worry about it would be if it was like, spring and we got like a late frost and the things have already bloomed out. And then, you can try to cover them, get them through a day or two. But as far as like for the wintertime, I'm really not sure. I don't have a great suggestion. Hopefully somebody else can speak up. Verna says 16 days until QuailCon. Yeah, it's coming up quick, isn't it? David said, yeah, for large ice cubes. Oh, okay. So your ice trays, you're going to break the ice out for the rabbits. Okay, that makes sense. Mid-America Bulldog says, I got 2 tamuks last week. Hopefully have the rabbit and chicken hut completed this week. Well, nice. Congratulations. I got 2 tamuks last week as well, but you probably saw that in my video. Dawn says, I heard the really bad winter thing going around. It's the same bull as global warming, LOL. Well, maybe. Seems like every year it's going to be a really bad winter or, really bad for bugs in the spring or whatever. I mean, it's a common thing people say. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we didn't have some, really cold winters. I always kind of think that maybe, maybe with all this global warming stuff up there, they talk about, the scare factor they try to put in everybody. I always think God's up there just kind of laughing like, you silly people. So who knows? We'll see. Oh, this is Mike. Okay. It's Mike. Mid-American Bulldogs is Mike, the guy that I was going to sell a rabbit to that I talked about in the video, but when he came over, found out it had sore hocks and didn't sell it. So, hey, you made it to alive. Good to see you. Yeah, same ones. And you got the same tamuks I did. Well, not the exact same ones, but from the same guy. I did see somebody comment, and I haven't gone in and responded to comments for a while, but somebody commented that they're also in Joplin. They wanted to know if I could give them the name of the person. I don't know if they're going to watch or if they're joining the live broadcast or anything, but wanted to know if I could give them the name of the person that was selling the tamuks. Just search Craigslist. It's on Craigslist, and it's in the Joplin area, Joplin Craigslist. I think when you search Craigslist for Joplin, I think there's 2 listings that come up. One's in like Springfield or something maybe. The other one's in Joplin. So that's the one that we bought from. Verna says, global warming is a thing. History shows that. Maybe. I'm not debating that there's not climate change, but that's just kind of a natural part of, there's always been climate change. It's always happened. What I really argue about is it's not as big of a deal as they make it out to be. And it's not like, we're causing as many issues as they try to make it out. Like people are, it's because we drive gas cars or something. Don says, we used to have cold winters with 19 inches of snow, and that was years ago. Lucky to see snow these days. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had 19 inches of snow here. We did used to get more snow than we do now, but then there was a time before that where we didn't get much snow either. So I mean, it's cyclical. It goes in cycles. Oh no, Verna says, "Dang commercial, missed some of what you said." Oh, I don't know where I was. So if you could tell kind of what I was talking about when the commercial came on, then I might be able to pick it back up for you. Justin says, North Iowa, we did not get any winter last year, so they're saying we're going to pay for it this year. That may be true. You never know. Tim says, I just saw a commercial for a dog dad t-shirt, but I have no dog. Sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't. I have a dog. I'm not wearing a dog dad t-shirt now. David Lister says, if you want to give God a good belly laugh, tell him your plans. Yeah, no kidding. Right? TM says, you could build a heck of a snowman with 19 inches of snow. You could. Yeah, no kidding. We used to get, it seems like, more snow than what we get now. But then again, I was much smaller back then and much shorter. So maybe it just seemed like more. I don't know. But we don't get much snow now. I mean, every couple of years we'll get a good snow. And then we'll go a couple of years without it. But it's kind of always been that way. Verna says, when it comes to weather prediction, I used to say if it was extremely warm summer, that would mean a cold winter. That doesn't work anymore. Yeah, no kidding. Kobe Stone says, good morning, Chris. I crossed my rabbit. What? Good morning, Chris. I crossed my rabbit. But is no pregnant, but keep pulling her fur. What could be the problem? Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. You crossed your rabbit, but it's not pregnant, and it keeps pulling fur. Well, I mean, I'm going to do my best to try to. So what you're saying is, I don't know if you're saying you bred the rabbit and it's not pregnant, or if you know it's not pregnant, but it's pulling fur. I mean, there is such a thing as false pregnancies. Those do happen. But also, are you absolutely sure it's not pregnant? Because, I mean, that happens too. Sometimes that, they somehow, I mean, they can breed through wire cages. If you've got wire cages right up against each other, that can happen. Other than that, I would just say it's probably just a false pregnancy. And if it is, I mean, there's nothing to do really. Just give her some time and she'll get over it. Farmer Marshall, Urban Gardener, says, hey, I just started building your world famous quail hutch. I'll make sure that I give you credit on an upcoming video. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hopefully it works out as well for you as it has for me. I've been pretty happy with that design. I'm always open to hearing, seeing what other people do and hearing if there's a better way to do it, but it's worked pretty well for me. TM says, if you want to give God a good laugh, just run your fingers through your hair. And I don't have much anymore. Yeah, I don't have any hair, right? Verna says, bred the rabbit could be a false pregnancy. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. And then I don't know what that is from Rock and Tea Rabbitry. It's looks like foreign language to me. I'm not really sure. I don't know how to pronounce it. So I think it was either a typo or intentional. And if it's intentional, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to skip over that one. All right. Well, we got a lull in the comments here. I've been spending a whole lot of time cleaning up brush because, I got a tree down. You guys probably saw that a couple of weeks ago. Got a big brush pile, so this weekend I'm going to have to be hauling some of it to the tree limb drop-off. I've been taking loads of it out to the curb every week for the trash men, and they're picking it all up, so that's good. I appreciate it. I haven't been able to catch them to say thank you, but they are picking it up so far. So anyway, yeah, this weekend I'll try to get a video out, but I am going to be getting loads of of brush. Try to get loads of brush before it gets too hot. We got incredibly hot weather right now. TM says, let's talk about QuailCon. Yeah, we'll do that. What do you want to talk about? It's coming up, not this coming weekend, next weekend. Next weekend, yeah, isn't that right? Well, let me look at the calendar. Not next weekend, the weekend after. Okay, so we got a little bit. Not quite 2 weeks, like Verna said, 16 days. So, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So, yeah, 16 days. It's held at My Shire Farm in Miamisburg, Ohio. There's going to be classes and speakers and, a lot of things, mostly quail related, but not only quail. There's other things that they talk about there, and some of those other classes are pretty interesting. So if you've never been and you get a chance to go, it's worth going. There's a big family dinner, family style dinner, I should say, on a Saturday night, I believe it is, where we all kind of get together and sit around and have a big dinner with quail. And usually I don't know if they're doing a pig this year or not. They did one last year and had like pulled pork as well. But there's, I mean, I don't know what to say. You know, if you got questions, I'll definitely answer them for you. But it's just, I mean, it's a big convention. It's like a, you know, like a homesteading kind of convention. It's, well, I don't know what else to tell you. Rocket T Rapetry says, "Oh my gosh, why did that say that? Sorry, Chris. Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's no problem." David Lister says, "Weather being in the high 90s here, we're waiting until mid-September to breed bunnies again." Yeah, we're in the high 90s here too. Over 100 degree heat index. It's pretty hot and muggy out right now. We're actually under a severe thunderstorm watch. I don't know. I don't hear any thunder or anything right now, so I think we're okay. But we're under a severe thunderstorm watch right now. TM says, "Are you marking your calendar?" Yep, I've got it marked and ready to go. Don says, "QuailCon in 16 days, 20 days to my first surgery." Oh no, what are you having surgery? Well, you don't have to tell me what you're having surgery for if you don't want to, but prayers for a quick recovery for you. Kobe Stone says, "What should be the best treatment after a doe gives birth?" I'm not sure what you mean by best treatment exactly. There's nothing special you really need to do. The one things that, what I would do is maybe increase her feed just a little bit at first. When the babies start getting out of the nest box, just keep her feeder full from that point on until the babies are weaned and off of her, and then you can go back to the regular rations. But once the babies start getting out of the nest box, they'll start nibbling on her food. And then at that point, you just keep the feeder full, as much food as they want while she has them. But that's really about it. That's all you really need to do. There shouldn't be too much to do. Check them fairly soon after she gives birth to make sure that, you don't have any that passed away you need to clean up or anything like that. That's about it. There's nothing special to do. Seth says, "Do you go every year?" Well, I have so far. I can't promise I'll make it every single year, but so far I've been there every year. Zach's invited me back. So, if he ever decides he doesn't want me there, then I'm fine with that. That doesn't really hurt my feelings, but we're friends and it's all good. If he decides he doesn't want to invite me along, it's fine. I may miss a year here or there or something like that, but for the most part, I've made it every year. Verna says, "Lots of classes, vendors, and couple food trucks." Oh, that's true. There are food trucks there and some vendors. Not a ton of them last year, but some. Some good ones, too. I mean, selling quail-related stuff. TM says, "I wish I could, but I can't." Oh, I understand. Don says 90 here, or 90 right now here. Yeah, I think it's a little warmer here. Not a lot, but a little. Michael says, "How big of a rabbit can you put in on 16 gauge wire?" Pretty much any meat rabbit, save for maybe like Flemish giants and that kind of stuff, which I don't really consider a meat rabbit. But I put, my New Zealand does that are 10 pounds. They're on 16 gauge wire. It's okay. It'd be best if you could get like 14 gauge, but that's hard to come by. So 16 gauge works just fine. Rocket T Rabbitry says it's 65 here. It's bunny time right now. Yeah, that would be nice. Don says, "Chris, I'm having a total knee replacement on the first leg, and 4 weeks later, the second leg gets one too." I think we've talked about that. For some reason, I thought you had already done it though. But anyway, again, prayers for a quick recovery. Hopefully that ends up with, I'm assuming you're doing it because you're having some significant problems. So hopefully that really improves your quality of life. There we go. Linda Easton's here. Linda Easton Waller. Good to see you. Says, "Hey, everyone, tuning in from Sacramento. Happy to be here tonight." Happy to be here with you, too. Glad you're here. I just got a text from somebody. Let me check a look. I'll have to respond to them later. Where are we at here? Got some people talking to each other. I'll kind of skip over those. Jacob Wolf says, Do you guys do anything to prevent mastitis? Personally, I wean at 6 weeks. My does are usually done with them and wean themselves at 4 to 5 weeks. Yeah, I mean, that's all I do is I wean them about 6 weeks. I've never had an issue with mastitis. I don't do anything special. I did have one person one time tell me that because I use wire nest boxes that's going to cause mastitis. It's never happened. And now I say that never, it probably will. But so far, I've never had that issue. I don't do anything special. I just don't worry about it. Verna says 75 here right now. That's not too bad. Linda says, I'm counting the days until QuailCon as well. Yeah, it is coming up quick. So, Linda, you don't drive there, do you? All the way from California? Do you fly in? Doesn't matter. You don't have to tell me, but just kind of curious. We drove it last year. We'll probably drive it again this year. In fact, we will. And it's about a 10-hour drive. So it's just on the verge of being, better to fly than to drive. But it's kind of nice to have my own vehicle too. Patrick says, it's the exact same weather here in Montreal. We got hail yesterday. It's way too hot. Yeah, it's been pretty warm the last couple of days. I mean, we had a nice stretch last week. Was cool, way cooler than normal, like 80s. I mean, it was nice. And then the heat came back. But it's that time of year. It's always hot this time of year. Verna says, Don, are you in the heat? I am far enough away from that omega pattern. Linda says, good luck with your surgery, Andy. I think is Andy having surgery? Did I miss that? I think Dawn is. But I don't know. Anyway, David Lister wants to know, what is mastitis? It's basically an infection in like the mammary glands of the rabbit. They can get it if they have like open wounds, if they scratch it or, something like that can cause an infection, basically. Linda says, definitely flying. Yeah, I assumed you were. I flew the first year for QuailCon. I had Zach pick me up at the airport, but I didn't want to do that to him again. I mean, it is a little bit easier to fly because it's just like an hour and a half, 2-hour flight, and you're there, So I don't even think it's 2 hours. It's a lot. It's short, and I can fly right out of Joplin right into. Well, I could at the time. I don't know if I still can, but. Dawn says, I think Linda meant me. Thank you. Yeah, I think so too. I'm not sure. It's easy to get mixed up in here. You got so many comments going back and forth. It's hard. Yeah, there she is. Oh, sorry, Dawn. The message was for you. I need new glasses. I was just talking about that. I've got new glasses coming, supposed to be here probably tomorrow. So I'll be able to read a little bit better. Actually, I mean, these aren't so bad, but they've just got, I don't think it's going to show up on camera. They've just got some scratches right across the middle of them. So I have to kind of look around that. And anyway, I did go to the eye doctor, got an eye exam. For the most part, my vision didn't really change. He did bump up these are progressive lenses. He said the prescription on the progressives just a little to kind of help me with being able to see a little bit better up close and stuff, but wasn't a big change. So, Buck Reynolds says, I have never seen a rabbit get mastitis. It hasn't happened with any of my rabbits. It's a possibility. It could. Now, with that being said, I haven't had sore hocks up until these last couple, last week, whenever I, pulled that rabbit out and went to check to see if it was a female, make sure it was a doe, and noticed sore hocks on it. It's the first time I've dealt with that. TM says, thank you, Linda, whoever you were thinking of. That's funny. Oh, we got to slow down in the chat again. So I don't mean to be just sitting here silent, but I don't have anything else to talk about, really. Nothing exciting. We got about 30 people in here. So not bad, and we're only about halfway through. Not even quite. Buck says, I've been raising rabbits for 65 years. Yeah, and you never know. I mean, it could be one of those things where, 65 years, you've never seen it, and then all of a sudden you do. I mean, you never see it until you do see it, right? But, I also don't ever have issues with bumblefoot. I don't have any of those issues that people talk about having. S.O. Swanson says, greetings, Chris, and all my favorite quailers. Well, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Jacob says, I have a rabbit with a bald spot on its foot. Should I do anything for it? It's not red or inflamed, just bare. Is it on the top of the foot or the bottom of the foot? Back leg, front leg? Which foot are we talking about? And is it on the top or the bottom? Verna says, Chris, so much going on right now. I hope to get everything settled soon so I can focus only on QuailCon. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like I said, I've got a whole tree back there I got to get cut up, and another one I got to have somebody come and take down, and I've got to do that pretty quick. I don't know how quick. I mean, I've got the tree that's fallen. I've got everything cleaned up all around it, so it's pretty much just the tree itself. It's still up in the air, and I don't want to cut that by myself while I'm here by myself, just in case something happens. I want somebody else to be around. So I'm waiting until I can get some help. And with it being 100 degrees out, nobody's really too willing to help out. Jacob Wolf says, bottom of the back legs, it's just the right foot. So the bottom, like the pad of her foot, or the leg itself. If it's the leg itself and it's just a bald spot, I don't know if there's anything to do. Who knows? She may have just pulled some fur out for some reason or whatever. But if it's the bottom, like the pad of her foot where she stands on it, that's not a good sign. That could be leading to sore hocks, basically. I'm not sure. I'll let you answer again, and we'll go from there. I mean, if it is sore hocks, my suggestion is call it, get a new rabbit. Sore hocks it can be treated, but it's incredibly hard to treat. To get it to not come back time and time again, it's like, and if she, it's a genetic thing, so she'll pass it on to any of her young, and that's just not a good thing. Linda says, Chris, what are the most common questions you get about butchering quail? Oh boy, I don't get a whole lot of questions about butchering quail. I mean, I've done some butchering videos before, and I think people have seen them. A lot of questions are like, how do you actually dispatch the animal? That's probably the most common one I get. People want to know how to do it, most humanely. And, and I get that too, because, as a lifelong, I've been a hunter all my life. We've harvested animals from the wild. Since I was young, I don't even remember the first animal I harvested from the wild. So, that's not anything new to me, processing the animal. But when I started raising animals myself for food, it's a little different when it's, it's in your hands. It's up and close and personal. It's not a deer that you're shooting at a distance or something, it's different. So I get that that's kind of probably the hang up that most people have is how do I do that? What do I do? That may be probably the most common question I get. TM says, have you decided what you're going to do with the rabbits with the foot problem? Have I decided? Oh yeah, they're already done. I called them. They're processed. They're in the freezer, and the dog's getting a piece of rabbit every night. If that's what you're talking about, the ones that I came up with that had sore hocks. Yeah, I didn't. I went ahead and called them for a couple of reasons. One, Vay's Place says, Scrap 5000, he's not responding to your post on purpose, trying not to do politics. What? I didn't see what? He's not reading your post on purpose. Are we talking about a chat I missed maybe or something? I don't see a chat from Scrap 5000 that I missed. If I did, I'm sorry. I don't mind. We'll talk politics. It's fine with me. I don't care. I'm one of those that believes that we can have differences of opinions and still be friends. So I don't get upset if somebody has a different opinion than me or doesn't see things the same way that I do. I'll still talk about it. It's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. Same thing with like religion. I'll talk religion because if you have a different opinion, I'm not mad at you about that. It's okay. Anyway, where are we going with? Okay, for a couple of reasons why I went ahead and processed those rabbits because, the two younger ones had pretty bad sore hocks. The mother had just kind of the starts of it and the signs, the thin fur on the bottom of her feet. So, one reason I processed them is because I can't sell those baby rabbits to anybody in good faith. And she's going to produce babies that probably have that problem ongoing. It's a genetic thing that she'll pass down to her young. So I don't want to be continuing to breed her and to try to sell any of those, because I do sell a few rabbits here and there and help pay for feed cost. The other reason is they're probably suffering. Rabbits don't really show pain like other animals do, or like some animals do. I mean, they're a prey species in the wild, so they don't really want to let other animals know that they're weak, they're suffering, or anything like that, because then they become a prey species. But it's definitely painful for them. I mean, these are open wounds on the bottom of their feet, and it's just I don't want them to suffer. It just doesn't seem humane to me to keep them alive and in a suffering state. So I did process them. Patrick says, I dealt with mastitis twice. I personally think it's more bloodlines related. When it starts, it doesn't seem to go away. Some females are more prone to it. I think that's probably some truth to that. I mean, there are definitely environmental things that can kind of lead to it, or, exacerbate the issue, I suppose. But yeah, I think that probably some animals are just more prone to it than others. Jacob says it's the leg, like on the side, not the very bottom. I thought maybe the same if she pulled a little fur or has been rubbing on the feeder. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a big deal. Sorry, grab a drink here real quick. I don't know that that's a problem, really. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen something like that, but I've had rabbits that had like a bald spot here or there, and it eventually just the hair grows back. I think they just got a little over anxious and pulled out some fur or something like that. But who knows? I mean, there could be a number of different things that cause it. Maybe she rubbed it on something, like you said. I mean, but if it's not red, inflamed, swollen, it's not getting worse or anything like that, I just wouldn't worry about it. Patrick E says, like sore hawks, talking about mastitis, like sore hawks, you can treat it, but better getting a different doe. Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet in most cases. TM says, have you had any problems that got in the ground? Yes, I was talking about your rabbits. Have I any problems that got in the ground? I don't know. I just heard some thunder. Maybe we are going to get some storms. I don't know. You're kind of confused me there. I don't know what you mean. Have I had any problems that got in the ground? I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're asking me there. My rabbits aren't on the ground. So if you mean like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm lost on that one. Chester Hickman says, good evening. Good evening to you too. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, sometimes YT doesn't show comments. Must be based on specific words. Yeah, it probably is. There are certain words that they're keywords, and I probably say things all the time that, probably are going to get me demonetized at some point, but I don't mean anything by it. TM says, were they expensive? What expensive? My new rabbits? Expensive? I think I paid, it was $70, I think, total for the pair of them. So, I mean, a little on the higher side, but it wasn't terrible. Patrick says to Verna, I completely agree. I actually think mastitis appears when there is too much inbreeding. I mean, that could lead to it for sure. I don't know that that's the only thing that could cause it, but yeah, when you do start to inbreed, line breed, or anything like that, really, inbreeding is probably worse, but line breeding even, you've got to make sure that you've got good stock, because not only are you going to accentuate the good traits, but the bad traits as well. And if you have a rabbit that's just a little subpar and you try to line breed that back to their, parent or whatever, which is an acceptable practice, well, you're going to accentuate those subpar things, which could lead to things like sore hawk issues, mastitis. I mean, all kinds of different things. Jacob says, my bucks also like to rub on his feeder. I've watched him do it. He does his face and head, like he wants everything in his space to smell like him. Yeah, that's pretty common for bucks, actually. They do that. I mean, it's just claiming their territory is what it is. But yeah, it's not an uncommon thing at all. Jacob says, I personally never dealt with mastitis. I just wondered if anyone did anything preventative to make sure. I haven't. I mean, I think there is like I said, I've had one person tell me that using wire rabbit cages could cause mastitis, because when the doe's jumping out, scrapes her, underside, fear of getting banned by YouTube or something. I gotta be careful what I say, on the wire as she jumps in and out of the box. And that's, I guess there's probably, I mean, it's possible, I guess, but I usually have cardboard. I line my nest boxes with cardboard, and I fold that cardboard over the front, so it's not really exposed wire right there at the front. I don't know. That would be one thing. Make sure you don't have any sharp edges at the front of your nest box for her to jump over and cause injuries. TM says, do rabbits or quail have any diseases that get in the ground? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure they do. I don't know of any right offhand. With rabbits, I don't know if you have to worry about distemper, but I've always heard that distemper, I don't know that affects rabbits. I don't think it does. But I've always heard distemper could be in the ground and could be spread that way. Also, coccidiosis, I mean, that's a parasite basically, but we think of it as a disease in a sense. But yeah, I mean, if you're in contact with the ground, they've got a much higher chance of getting that than when they're up in cages. But I don't think there's any major issues. Nothing that I can think of. Verna is saying that, let's see, I think the problem with mastitis is from people taking the kits off the dough too soon. I mean, that could cause it as well. It's probably multiple things that cause it. I don't know that it's any one issue. And I think you're right that some does are going to be more prone to it than others. So yeah, I mean, there could be several different things that could cause it. Buck says you're going to get some storms come through here headed your way. We might. They may. He says I'm in Catoosa, Oklahoma, east of Tulsa. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for definitely that's coming our way. We get Tulsa weather here, but they may die out before they get here. You never know. Hopefully we don't get any really bad high wind stuff because I got a tree that needs to come down. I don't want it to fall before I get a chance to take it down or have somebody take it down. Jacob Wolf says, let's see, I've also been considering the ARBA to promote myself as a better breeder, and I might learn something. A year is $20, so I thought, why not? And plus, I'll get that Standard of Perfection book. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea if that's what you want to do. I don't really sell enough rabbits that I've worried about doing it, but I mean, I'm not that much into breeding and selling. I breed for meat, so I'm not as worried about it, but it's not a bad thing. The Desert Homestead says, saw your video on culling the rabbit. What do you do with rabbit when you find it dead? I had one die, and I think it was from heat, but I don't know why she died. I put her in the compost. What's your thoughts? Okay. Yeah, if I don't know why the animal's dead, if I don't know what happened, I don't eat it. I don't feed it to my animal. No, it goes, I don't throw it in the compost though. Your compost usually does not get hot enough to really compost down like animals and things like that. I mean, just be cautious of that. It may work for you, but usually compost doesn't get hot enough to really cause, to kill the bacteria to compost it down. So I'm not sure that's the best way to dispose of it. But yeah, I do not. I won't eat it. I won't feed it to my animals. Usually I just bag them up and throw them in the trash. Or, I mean, the quail I don't. The quail I just throw in the back tree line. Cat or something will come by and clean them up probably. Vernon is saying the same thing. Any animal I did not call myself, I would not eat. I agree. Jacob Wolf says, joining the ARB. Oh, I think I read it. Did I read that wrong? No, I don't know if you said joining or not, but I knew what you meant, so it's all good. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, YT keeps blocking this. The issue in England with people not having freedom of speech. I've seen a little bit about that, not a ton. I know basically what they did is I think they ruled out like a hate speech kind of thing, so that if anybody is, what they consider speaking, against certain alphabet community kind of things, I have to be careful with the way I say it because I don't want to get in trouble myself. It's kind of the same way on here. I guess we don't have quite freedom of speech. The problem with that really is that it's first of all, we have freedom of speech here in America, and that means you have the freedom to speak however you want to speak to whoever. I mean, you can't go into a crowded, we all know the saying, right? You can't go into a crowded theater and yell fire, but if you want to say hateful things about people, you have the freedom to do that. That's what freedom of speech means. The problem when they start regulating it like that is, first of all, that's very, very vague. It's not very specified, like what is considered hate speech, what's not. So therefore, I mean, they can define it however they want to. So if you just say, I disagree with this, well, they could consider that hate speech, and then they're going to come after you. And they said they would. I mean, they're going to be fining, putting people in jail for it, and all kinds of things. We're going to have to see how that plays out. TM says some people like to let their rabbits eat grass. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. I like grass-fed beef. I'll take grass-fed rabbit. They will grow out slower if you're feeding them primarily on like grass and pasture, basically. They're going to grow out slower than when you're feeding them pellets, but there's nothing wrong with that. Verna says, Scrap, I see them all, so it may be his personal settings. Like me, my personal setting, I don't have any settings to filter out anything. I'm not sure why it's filtering out things. TM says, off of the ground. Oh, so you mean some people like to pull grass and feed to their rabbits instead of like pasturing them, letting them actually run on the ground? Either way is fine if you want to do that. I will caution you, don't just try to drastically change your rabbit's diet all at once. So you don't want to, like, if you're feeding them nothing but pellets, don't bring like a huge bundle of grass and throw in their cage and want them to eat that. I mean, that's a pretty drastic change in their diet. You want to introduce that stuff slowly. Rabbits don't adjust real quick to diet changes, and they could get diarrhea, and a rabbit with diarrhea doesn't last very long. So you want to do that slowly, very just small amounts at first, gradually increase the amount. Jacob says, TM, I run my grow outs in a rabbit tractor in a cage that's elevated off the ground on 2x2 runners. Well, there you go. TM says, do you get an ARBA t-shirt? I don't know. Do you? Probably not for $20. Verna says, TM, eating grass is one thing, not likely to catch anything from the grass. And then Verna says another dang commercial. And another commercial cutting in. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I have monetization turned on, and that way I can make a little bit of money off this. I don't make a ton of money on YouTube, but a little bit. It helps, but it's not a lot, which I'm not complaining. That's okay. But I do have the monetization turned on, so I'm sorry you're getting ads. I did turn it down to the conservative, so it would be like less ads, less interruptions. It says you won't make as much money. I don't care. I wanted less interruptions, but TM says, but could they catch anything from the ground? Just curious. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it's a big concern, especially if we're talking grow outs, because you're going to be processing them at 8, 9, 10 weeks anyway. Joe Sandy says, hey, everybody, checking in late tonight. I've been trying to divide my SR quail hutch in half. And then there's more to that, I think. And that's okay. You can be late. It's fine. Here's the other part of it. Had a literal bloodbath the past week trying to combine two groups of birds. I'm done trying that. It never works. Yeah, especially if they're adult birds. Now, I've had really good luck throwing like 2-week-old babies in with my existing quail, and it just does fine. No problems. So it's, but adults, for sure, you're going to have problems every time. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, a guy got 20 months in the slammer for simply saying he doesn't want his tax money going to people who are doing bad things to their daughters. It's really bad. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that is bad. I'd have to look into that a little bit. Not that I don't trust you, but I also don't, I find that a lot of the times there's news stories posted with, like a headline or something like that. And depending on the source, when you actually read into it, there's a little bit more to the story than that. I'm not saying you didn't, but I'd have to look at that one. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, the UK Popo also said they will come for Americans who express the same. Yeah, another reason not to go over there, huh? Another reason to get out and vote in November, I suppose. I mean, it could be that bad here before long. Verna says, with freedom of speech, you are not free from the consequences that come from it. Well, no, you should. I mean, there's a difference. Yeah, I mean, you're not necessarily free from the consequences, somebody else getting mad at you or something like that. But you should be, if you have freedom of speech, you should be free from the government coming after you for something that you've said. That's crazy. Because it could very easily, a lot of the times these people are, that they are persecuted. I mean, we're all a lot of people will be like, well, they shouldn't be saying that stuff anyway. That's hate speech. That's what, maybe you're right. Maybe it is. But how long before something you're saying is described as hate speech? Then something, they could just, whatever. It's a slippery slope. You don't want to give up your rights because, they take over when you do. Tim says, you got to make money. Go ahead. Caesar says, hey, Chris. Oh, thank you, by the way. I appreciate it. Caesar says, hey, Chris, and everyone else late doing some errands. That's all good. You made it. We're glad you're here. Patrick says, I give 10% of feed as comfrey and willow. Pellets is the main feed, but I also include tree leaves. They love apple and maple, but it's 10% of any option. 90% is pellets only, or pellets daily. Yeah, there's no problem with that. If your rabbits are doing fine on that, that sounds great. And you could increase it even more if you wanted to. I'm just saying don't do a drastic change all of a sudden. Joe Sandy says, I've tried all the tricks. For me, none work. Really? What kind of birds are you raising again? I've forgotten. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, you can look up the guy getting sentenced by the judge, and the judge reads out loud what the guy said. It's literally what I wrote. Things are getting worse by the day. Holy cow, that's bad. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out here. Let me do a. There we go. I'll check that out here after a while. All right, where are we at here? Joe Sandy says, this way I'll just have two groups. When I get a new hatch, I'll call the old group and rotate the new ones. Yeah, that's not a bad plan either. That works. Don says, other countries have no say in U.S. It's our internet. They can use their own and stay off ours. Yeah, well, I think what that means when he says they'll go after U.S., yeah, they can't come over here and go after us. But, if you're visiting the UK and you say something, you're on their property, on their land, then they could, I suppose. Jacob says, what do you guys like to store your feed in? I use a 55-gallon food-grade plastic barrel with a screw-on lid for chicken feed, and I have gamma containers for rabbit feed. I just have I have a plastic tote that I use for my rabbit feed and a small metal trash can I use for my quail feed. And they're not super water. I guess the Rubbermaid, it's not a Rubbermaid, it's a different brand, but it's a big rubber tote. It's fairly water resistant. It's not gonna, if water were to flood, it wouldn't hold, but it keeps rain out, and the trash can does a pretty good job of that too. Joe Sandy says, then I'll never have to add new to old. I never knew quail could be so vicious. Boy, they can. Verna says, blessings all. I don't know does that mean you're leaving? I don't know. Let's see. Don S says, to Jacob Wolf, I use 5-gallon totes for baby feed and 27-gallon totes for adults. They hold 40 pounds of feed. There you go. Joe Sandy says, my birds are from my shire, feather sexable mix, 3rd generation from my eggs. You might start looking at, if you can identify which ones are the most aggressive birds and start calling them out and seeing if you can kind of reduce that over time. My shire is a great supplier. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have noticed, it seems like to me that, I grow the jumbo pharaoh, and it seems like all the other colors are a little bit more aggressive. And maybe that's just my experience. I don't know, but that's what I've noticed, especially like the white ones. When I had white birds, man, they were the most aggressive birds I've ever seen. But I've had issues too with like Italians and tuxedos and all those. Scrap 5000 said, agreed. They can't come over here, but they have the audacity to try and scare us to think they can celebrate the 4th of July and the Second Amendment very hard. Yeah, no kidding. Well, we've been there before, right? They shouldn't, they know better, right? Than they try to come over here and scare us into anything, don't they? That's already played out once before. Yeah, I'm a little concerned, without getting too political, I'm a little concerned with some of the things that have been said, especially about like our Second Amendment rights and, and even some of our Third Amendment rights, or First Amendment rights, free speech and, Second Amendment, because, a lot of the things that have been said, it doesn't look good. And, if the wrong people get in, we could be seeing things move in that direction. And they'll do it under the guise of public safety and all that, but that's not what it's about. TM says, I thought about trying to use a 27-gallon tote for a cage for quail. I've been thinking about it. 27-gallon for a cage. Huh? I don't know. I guess it would work, but it'd get awful dirty. Caesar Reyes says, I have a mixture of colors. They were so aggressive. I only raised jumbo wild. Yeah, that's, yeah. Scrap says, we Italians are hot-headed. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I guess the Irish would be too if they'd stop drinking, huh? I'm Irish. I can say that. Yeah, I had the same problem with mixture of colors and things like that. The jumbo wild are by far the most docile I've raised. Joe Sandy says, Chris, I think you'd be proud of me and how I divided my hutch in two. Wasn't easy to give equal access to open area and sandbox and still be able to access feed, water, and gather eggs. Yeah, it sounds like you did some pretty creative stuff there. I'd kind of be curious to see it. I would be proud, I'm sure. Patrick says, Scrap 5000, do you know the Jeff Taylor YouTube channel? I don't know who that is right offhand. We'll see. I'm going to have to check that one out later, too. TM says, the cussing on the internet is getting bad, I think is what he says. I know. It's bad everywhere, not just on the internet. It's getting bad everywhere. People are just have no modesty anymore. They have no respect for other people. It's bad. Josady says, I'll send you a photo. Yeah, do that. We'll check it out. Scrap 5000 says, TM, sometimes cussing is required. Mark Twain was a big fan when used correctly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, within reason, maybe. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I don't know that it's ever required. I think you can get your points across other ways, but, you know. TM says, I wanted to use kitty litter for quail. I don't know that I would do that, honestly. And if you did, I would check in very carefully to what's in it because they will eat. I mean, you put them in a sandbox, they eat some of the sand. They're naturally going to take in some grit, and I don't know what's in that exactly to know if it's completely safe for them. Joe Sandy says, do you believe there's any validity to raising your incubator temp a degree to favor hatching hens? I actually did a video on that. Oh, it's been probably several years ago. I mean, you're right on track. It does favor hatching hens, I think. I can't remember if it's warmer favors hens, cooler favors, or if it's the other way around, whatever it is. It favors hatching hens, but it won't change the outcome of like the eggs you've set. In other words, it's not like you're going to get more hens than you would normally. You just will get less roosters. The roosters are less likely to hatch, but it's not going to change the not that you were saying this. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. It's not going to change like what would have been a rooster to a hen. It's not like alligators where alligators can, based on the temperature, they can change from a from a male to a female or vice versa. Some reptiles can do that in the egg, but it's not like that with quail eggs. It's just going to mean like you set 50 eggs. If you had the temperature just right, let's say you had 40 of them hatch and you had 20 roosters and 20 hens. Well, you bump it up a degree to, favor the hens more. You may get 10 roosters and 20 hens, but you're still only going to get 20 hens. You're not going to get anything more than that, if that makes sense. Michael Weber says, hey, just sitting in. My video of raising quail is only hours old. LOL, trying to learn correctly before I start. Oh, my idea of raising quail, there we go, is only hours old. LOL, trying to learn correctly before I start. Central Florida. So far, expressing my idea of quail hasn't been well received. Well, there's plenty of people, I'm sure, that are raising quail in Florida. I know there's lots of people raising quail in Florida. I'm sorry you're having a difficult time getting people to convince people that it's a good idea, but hey, go for it. That's what I say. Do it anyway. Scrap 5000 says, Mark Twain says, under certain circumstances, profanity provides a relief denied even to prayer. Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying he's, I get what he's saying, but I don't know if I agree with it. Patrick E says, he's based and really involved. He is friends with Tommy Robinson. You will get real info on how Brits feel. You're talking about that YouTube channel you were talking about. Don says, I use corncob bedding. All the quail eat that, even 3-day-olds. Yep, that makes sense. Joe Sandy says, yes, I understand it doesn't change their genders. There is some evidence, though, that it would. There is some evidence, and I don't know. I mean, you're taking a chance there when you start bumping temperature up that you may get. Of course, if you're getting really poor hatch rates, but mostly hens, it may be worth it for you. But yeah, there is some evidence that it does have a little bit of an impact. You'd have to research it a little bit and see just how much we're talking about. I don't know. Scrap 5000 said, Australia is looking to require ID before you can log onto the internet. Things are moving fast, folks. Oh, that's crazy. TM says, I like Mark Twain. I like what he said about the Missouri River. I think it's too thick to drink, too thin to plow. Yeah, I like Mark Twain, too. That doesn't mean I have to agree with everything he says, but I do like him. I think he's a pretty great guy, or was. Joe Sandy says, I'm stuck if so many roosters. Oh, I'm just sick if so many roosters. I usually get about 75% roosters to 25% hens if I'm lucky. Oh, yeah, that is that is rough. I get it. Yeah, try it and see if it works. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't work very well, and you just go back to doing it the way you were doing it. B-Tech Wind and Solar says, I just noticed I was unsubscribed. Oh, why'd you unsubscribe? That's not very friendly. No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. Angel Ramirez says, I have a question. When I hatch my first baby quail, they all die. So I'm wondering what I did wrong. Well, that's hard to say. It just, all my quail died. Why? I don't know. I don't know what happened. When did you take them out of the incubator? When did they die? Did they die right away? Was it days later? Was it, what were you feeding them? What kind of water were you using? I mean, there's a lot. What temperature were you keeping them out in the brooder box? There's a whole lot of things that go there. I'm not trying to be hateful. I hope that doesn't come across that way. It's just, we got 3 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this answered before the 3 minutes, but I need some more information before I can really troubleshoot that one for you. Cesar Reyes says, best thing I did 3 years ago was to start raising quail. I don't see myself without it. Oh, I get it. All right, let's see if Angel can get that in there. They die right away when they hatch. Okay, so more than likely it's a temperature issue of some kind in your incubator, unless you have the humidity way too high, like 90% or something. That might cause some issues, but more than likely it's a temperature issue. So get a couple of get a couple of calibrated thermometers. Make sure they're calibrated and accurate, and get 2 of them. They don't have to be super expensive. Just make sure they're calibrated, they're accurate. Throw them in your incubator, run it for a couple of days with nothing in it but the thermometers, and then see what they say. And I say get 2 because that way you can compare. You've got the one on the incubator itself, and then the other 2. And if any 2 of those read the same, that's probably what the temperature is. And if it's showing, like, maybe your incubator shows 99, but the thermometers both say 97, well, that means you need to bump it up 2 degrees to get to 99 inside the incubator. That's a pretty common issue, so that's probably going to be the issue. I'm running out of time, so I don't know that I have time to do much more troubleshooting with you, but that sounds it. Now, of course, wait until they're dry and fluffy before you pull them out of the incubator. Don't pull them out when they're, right as soon as they hatch. Don't open the incubator as soon as they hatch. Just leave them in there for a day, 24 hours or so. Hopefully that helps. Joe Sandy says, let's see, I'm getting only about 60% hatch rates. I'm not thrilled with my nurture right. I'm thinking about getting a styrofoam incubator, a little giant, or a hovabator. 60% is not terrible. If you haven't done that incubator test with yours, do it. Get your, incubator tuned in and calibrated, and maybe you'll bump it up a little bit. Homesteading Matters says, howdy from Eugene, Oregon. Late but joining. Hope everyone is well. Locked down with Gopher Ridge birds. Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Oh, that's a good point. S.O. Swanson says, make sure you've opened those air vents so there's oxygen in the incubator. Yeah, that's a good point. Open up the air vents for sure. Patrick says, well, it's been a nice chat. Thanks to the host and all here. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining. I wouldn't have a broadcast without you guys. Says, by the way, good luck with that tree. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got to wrap this one up. I'll get through one or two more, and then we're going to have to close it down. Don says, I'm taking this year off of raising quail until I can walk. These 2 surgeries coming up soon. Maybe looking at February to start up hatching again for spring. Hey, I don't blame you. I completely understand that. Take care of yourself. Don says, if both knees work, I'll start back with quail and add pigeons in later for another area of the yard. That sounds great. I'd love to get some pigeons. S.O. Swanson says, thanks, Chris, for taking the time with us and for the missus for loaning you to us. You're absolutely welcome. Don says, real late getting here. Good evening from South Mississippi. Good evening to you too. Thank you for joining us, but I got to wrap it up. You just got here just at the end. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. I should be on next week. I don't see any reason why not. The week after, I'm not sure because we'll be getting ready to go to QuailCon, yeah, I think so. Maybe it's the week after that. But anyway, I'll be on next week. I don't see any reason why not unless something comes up. So, all right, we'll see you guys then. So take care. And as always, God bless.